We took action last night to stop a war. We did not take action to start a war.
Does that answer your question? On this episode of Red Zata, we're going to talk about this whole USA versus Iran debacle that started off our New Year's 2020 with a bang, literally. There's a lot to the story that is underreported, and I want to dive into the details that most of you maybe don't know. The details of why the Middle East has looked the way it's looked for the last 40, 50 years, since 1979. And there might be some surprising bits of information in there, but it all ties in to Trump's draining of the swamp. Let's get into episode 5. So what is draining the swamp? Why was Trump voted in to shake things up in Washington? America has played an instrumental role in destabilizing the world for far too long. I see it from both sides, guys. I grew up in Lebanon, so I see some of the hatred that some Lebanese or some in the region would have for Americans. But you know what's funny? Those same people hate on the deep state that Trump was voted in to destroy. You and Americans in America have more in common. You in the region have more in common than you think. This is going to be the basis off of which peace will be established and peace will reign for a very long time ahead. The reason I'm talking about this deep state is because the destabilization that America had partaken in for so long, we can point out specific moments in history where it's obvious. Iran, before the Islamic Revolution took place, which we'll get into, was run as a monarchy. The Shah was in there, right? Since 1952, I believe, until 1979, where he was ran out of the country. But who put the Shah into place? He was backed by America. A coup had taken place. He was placed in that position. And essentially, America had been running that country. Does it sound familiar? Every massive international development over the last, let's say, 100 years, since World War II, America has played a role in destabilizing countries, building regimes up, removing regimes that disobey, reinstituting revolutionary Islamic governments that subdue their public and treat them like sheep. In America, we have a similar situation, except that with us, they use the idea of, oh, we're a democracy, we're a republic, when really our media, our academia, our Hollywood, everything in the country subdues and makes sheep of their populace. So in the case of Iran, 1952 to 1979 was, sure, it looked better. You didn't have burqas all around, shadowy figures walking the streets with very little happiness and joy in their life. 1979 comes around, and what happens in Saudi Arabia? Isn't there a coup in Saudi Arabia as well? A revolution of extremist Muslims that take over the government of Saudi Arabia. Terrorism starts taking place. Here's the beauty of the CIA and its work in this case. And what are they going to do to balance out the power? Because we want to divide and conquer the Middle East, right? Let's create some anger and animosity among the religious people of the Middle East. They create a Shia extremist government in 1979. Don't for a second think that the Islamic Revolution of Iran is not controlled by certain groups of America. These certain groups fund wars. These certain groups incite wars. Because when a war is incited, not only is there division and anger and the energy of hate and the devil on the ground in those countries, but a lot of these warmongers and defense contractors bank. They make money. Wouldn't they be part of this establishment that Trump was voted in to destroy? Why do you have Republicans and Democrats both hating on Trump? What do you think that's about? When he announced to run for presidency, why did both Republicans and Democrats denounce him and laugh at him? 2016 marked a new day in American policy. 2016 marked a new day in international policy. When Trump goes to the UN and says globalism is dead, he's not simply talking about trade deals. He's not simply talking about manufacturing hubs shifting from China to America. He's talking about sovereignty returning to each of these countries. No more American meddling in your choices. As long as you're doing right by your people, as long as you're lifting your people up instead of subjugating them, you will prosper. Your people will prosper. It's a very easy concept. But the deep state still exists, which is why you have the current skirmish between America and Iran. The start of a skirmish back in 2016, 2017 between America and North Korea, which was run by deep state Chinese and CIA actors. There's a bigger picture to the world that the media doesn't want you to know. Shadowy figures in corporate boardrooms and in bureaucratic government offices that have been running the game, and we've been the serfs. An ignorant, blind, and willing public that would go wherever they took us. They want us to fight a war, let's fight a war. They want us to feel defeat. Look at what happened on 9/11. It's become truly funny to watch the news and to see all these political pundits and congressmen and women with these fresh eyes that I have. Here's the basic outline of what we see on TV now. Trump hits Soleimani, right? A deep state puppet, friend of Obama and John Kerry. He gets him off the face of the planet. Nice move. What do the Republicans go on TV and start talking about? This is great news. Thank you, Mr. President. It's time that Iran knows what we're dealing with here. We're not playing games anymore. All right? Neocons being neocons, doing neocon things. And then what do the Democrats go on TV and talk about? Mr. President, this is a unfortunate escalation of events in the Middle East. The people of the Middle East do not deserve this. Sounding just like Hezbollah and Nasrallah. Isn't it funny how the Republicans band together in their BS message, with the exception of Rand Paul and the libertarians? They kind of take no, sir, that was a bad move. We shouldn't have done that because it might cause us to enter into another endless war, which is also stupid. The liberals in this country sound just like the Iranian Guard. They sound just like Hezbollah's Nasrallah. They sound just like the Houthis. Why do they mimic each other in what they're talking about? Why did Obama, while Iran had taught their public to say death to America, death to Zionism, death to all of this, right? Why would he make a deal with that guy, giving him $150 billion of our money? Not his money, our money, taxpayer money. 1.5 of those billions was paid in cash. What kind of drug deal were these people dealing with, man? Why was the pallets of cash shipped over there on planes, multiple planes, and where did those planes really go? Did they go to Tehran only? Or was Obama funding terrorism like his deep state cronies in the CIA have been? You Democrats out there, especially those that come from the Middle East, you get a guy like Trump saying, I'm going to take down the deep state, and you think he's going against you? He's going against the forces that worked in the Middle East for decades, trying to keep you dumbed down. You know what's great, though? They succeeded. They succeeded. Instead of keeping you dumbed down by the shows and movies you watched, you went to schools that taught you to be stupid. You went to universities that kept you stupid. You're so smart, you're stupid. I love all of these diploma-holding graduates of upper echelon schools, higher education. They've learned so much that they've actually learned nothing at all. You would have been more successful in this world in political science if you hadn't gone to these schools. You would have known more instead of dumbing yourself down. The bureaucrats, the military-industrial complex, the people that lobby your government officials to work and do the things they want to do in this corrupt system that Trump is here to drain. They fund those colleges and universities. China spends a lot of money investing in colleges and universities in this country. And what happens? You have people like Linda Sarsour. You have colleges that have PLO offices on campus. Anti-Zionists. You're a bunch of sheep that I'm ashamed to call neighbors of mine. I went to FAU, Boca Raton, PC culture hub of Palm Beach County. What's funny to me is none of these people, when I was there, and I was actually on their side, and I actually partook in some of their events, because I was brainwashed like all of you. Brainwashed. None of them tell you that the people funding your enemy are also funding you. The people that incite your enemy to hit you are also inciting you. Who funded Hitler back in World War II? Was it just German high society? Or were there Americans that were funding Hitler too? Why did Hitler roll around in Ford trucks and Humvees and all these types of American products? The deep state has been working for a while, people. For a while. The Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the JP Morgans, the Rothschilds. You talk about the Zionist, the real enemy of everybody are the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the funders of these wars, the military-industrial complex that's international. Have you wondered why John Kerry, for the last 3 years of the Trump administration, has been dealing with, in secret, with Iranian government officials to push back against Trump policy? Why you've had Hatch Act violations by ex-government officials that have been trying to undermine the Trump policy for the last 3 years? It doesn't stop on only ex-government officials. There's plenty of deep staters still inside the government that are trying to undermine our president. Why would they do that? Listen, I don't care what you think about Trump. The guy is actually trying to work towards peace, right? I just watched Nasrallah's speech today. He's talking about Trump's administration being a failure, a total failure for the last 3 years. You're a liar, sir. You're a liar, and your father is a devil. Trump's administration has been more successful than any administration in history. But then you also have people within it trying to undermine it. John Kerry is corrupt, and he should be hung for treason. Obama, the same. They have been caught trying to line their pockets with taxpayer dollars while helping terrorists and CIA black actors take over the world in what was going to be the New World Order. George Bush Sr. talked about this in 1990.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
They will succeed, he said. Surely we will succeed in creating a new world order. You died like a dog. Let me go back to what we said in the last episode. Bush Sr. died like a dog. McCain died like a dog. And Obama's time is coming up. You have to wake up and stop watching Al Jazeera. Stop watching CNN. Stop watching MSNBC. Those people are traitors paid off by the same people that paid off John Kerry, that corrupted him from his Yale days. You guys remember when John Kerry and George Bush were running against each other? Do you know how stupid you were to think that that was an actual competition? Those two went to the same college. They were in the same secret cult in that college, the Skull and Bones, and they were claiming that they had different policies. They were both running on the same policies. They just didn't tell you what those really were. And now we finally get a guy who's exposing all of it. 2020 is crystal clear vision, people. It's coming up. You're going to see the truth about this whole global system that's been running for so long, where we've been put against each other, to fight each other, to hate each other, to talk shit about each other, while they made billions off our backs. These corporate CEOs, you think they're really touchable with the current status quo, with your Elizabeth Warrens, with your Pete Buttigieg? None of these people care about you. None of them. They tell you they're going to tax these corporations, right? While they're sitting in wine caves drinking wine with these fools. Socialism is the root of what they've wanted to do for so long. A global government that's run by communist values that we've seen run in China, where they suppress any religious following, where they want you to worship government instead of worshiping God. That was their ultimate goal. They wanted to create a global communist government where the people are simply slave labor, where 60 to 70 to 90% of their money is going straight to the government because the government is almighty according to them. Who's running the government? Isn't it them? When they tell you give us more control, who's going to have that control? Is it you or is it them? To go back to the concept of the Middle East and what's been happening. Iran can threaten all they want. We will destroy anybody that claims they're going to touch an American soul. Not even one. Do you hear me? Not one. Our shoes are worth more than your entire country. It's time The Iranian people stood up against tyranny because Saudi Arabia has finally woken up. Mohammed bin Salman is saving Saudi Arabia from the deep state grasp of Walid bin Talal and his ilk. There won't be World War III. That's what the liberals want you to worry about. The Selective Service website crashed yesterday. It crashed from the amount of stupid people actually going there to worry about, are we going to be drafted? Oh my goodness, are we going to be drafted? World War III was avoided on November 8th, 2016. 100 plus years of deep state control can't be drained in 3 years, people. It can't. Some of you out there are wondering, why are we still in this quagmire? You're talking about decades and decades of control that Trump is slowly but surely dismantling. I would point you to one thing and one thing only. If you go to pacer.gov, this is a website that has all of our court filings and documents listed for the American taxpayer to view. On average, in America, we average around 1,200 sealed indictments. A sealed indictment is an indictment put in by a prosecutor that's sealed, that's kept classified until the court date or when they see fit. So we average around 1,200 of those a year. Since October of 2017, the count so far, as of today, 149,000. Each indictment can have up to 35 people listed in it. Think about that for a second. Marinate on that. For the last 3 years, haven't you been seeing Trump's poll numbers go up? Haven't you been seeing his support go up among very unorthodox people, people that you wouldn't suspect loving him? The black population, the Hispanic population, the people that were told Trump was a racist against you, why are they loving him now? The last 3 years are about waking the people up, getting the people ready before the bomb is dropped on the entire world. When the corruption is exposed on all sides of the aisle, the two-party system will be no more. The two-party system after this exposure will be no more. Durham is coming. Durham is going to expose way more than you guys think. 2020 is going to be incredible. I can't wait. This year's already off to a good start. So I think the biggest question remains, what does 2020 hold for all of the world, not just for America or Iran? And none of us can predict anything, right? I can never try to claim I'm a prophet. All I know is I've studied Trump. I've studied Trump for the last 3 years with so much focus that I've been able to at least guide my family and my friends in the right way over the last 3 years to avoid the mainstream's opinions on what is happening and what won't happen. And I say I've hit it with at least a 95% success rate. So 2020, you have to realize something. Trump's election in 2016 was not another 4-year election. It represented a different paradigm for the world, a new reality. Since Y2K and 2012, people have been predicting the end of the world. Well, let me put it to you this way, something to think about. What if 2012 wasn't the end of the world as we know it, but simply an end of a timeline? And since then, all of the spiritual realm as well as the 3D world that we live in have been working towards a different timeline. A timeline where the New World Order is exposed and brought down. A timeline where the plans of the devil are exposed and brought down. Because the only way you can truly have real peace and prosperity for the world is to remove the devil from the equation. Trump has God on his side. Us as individuals, we have God on our side. Our instincts have been awakened over the last couple of years where we're starting to weed out the lies from the truth. We're seeing clearly. And with this clear vision comes a lot of responsibility. A responsibility of being good stewards as God's children. Being good representatives of what it means to be good. Of what it means to defend our name, our property, and our families. There will be a lot of earthquakes in 2020, literal and metaphorical. And these earthquakes will serve one thing, no matter how traumatizing they may be in the moment. The end goal of these earthquakes is to rid the world of corruption, of greed, of violence, of debt, of a Federal Reserve System, a central bank system that was formed to simply keep us enslaved to debt. And it will culminate in a 2020 presidential election that will reshape the way America looks and operates. All of this prep work that has gone on since 2016 will lead us to a certain destiny. And that destiny is an educated populace that takes its destiny into its own hands and votes on its conscience. I have more faith in the American public that we won't vote socialist, we will vote Trump. That we won't vote liberal, we will vote conservative. Because the things that have made America great, putting aside all of the evils and the evil behavior of some in our political power structure, the goodness of our Constitution and our Bill of Rights and our founding, the true meaning of being a light for the world to view as inspiration for their own countries and their own people will be reinstated, and in big numbers. That's my personal 2020 vision, and I would say it's an educated guess. I've been right so far. I mean, that's what led me to start a podcast, really. In my own little way, with a handful of listeners, showing people a different way of thinking, showing people a different way of viewing the things that are happening in the world, that it's not all doom and gloom, even on a microscopic level, even on our personal everyday life level. The things we go through, the breakups, the heartaches, the bankruptcies, the failures, that golden rule that whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, couldn't be more right. We're coming out of this whole thing so much stronger in our own way. And this won't be strictly an America thing. This will be a global thing. Every nation in its own right taking control of their nations, of their borders, of their immigration policies, of their trade deals, of their social programs, keeping the good and the will of the people in their everyday decisions. This is what we're getting to. And those who are still stuck on the old way, corrupted by the old guard, they'll be weeded out. They'll either have to change their minds or be among the 4 to 6% of the world's population that is so beyond brainwashed that nothing can save them. They'll go to the grave ignorant. 2020 looks good, no matter what trends on Twitter, what Twitter allows to trend on Twitter. You all have to have faith. Put it up to God. He won't abandon his children. He hasn't abandoned us yet. In my past, I doubted a lot. Most of my life was spent being an atheist, a hard-lined atheist, where everything I thought about was in my hands. Everything I did was my control. Whatever was out of my control, I tried to make it into my control. Worshipping the lowercase g God of fame and money and gold and idolatry and all of the sins of this 3D world. But God didn't let me go. He stood by me, even when I didn't recognize him. We are the counterculture. Doesn't it feel like that now? The church is the counterculture. It feels good. I'm not here to preach. It might sound like it, but I'm not. I just want to start off 2020 on a new foot. And every year between now and the day I pass is simply working towards being the best person I can be for my family, for myself, for my community, for my country. And I pray that every one of you out there, whether you're in America or in your respective country, do the same, because it's bigger than either you or me. This new paradigm is for the victors. And the only victor there will be are the soldiers of God. Those who fight for the truth instead of misleading their friends and family and their followers into darkness. We stand for light, for positivity, for prosperity, for peace. And you could tell, even in my episode today, there are moments of anger, which kind of antithetical to the idea of light and peace. But this is a battle. This is a spiritual battle between good and evil. And trust me, the good will not stand idly by while the evil tries to run us over. We stand up and we fight back. That's been episode 5, a short one. I want to thank everybody that's listening for your support. I keep you guys all in my prayers. And tell your friends and family of Red Zata, Because all I'm trying to do is spread the word, spread the message. The media's been lying to you, and if I could shed a little bit of truth in your day, then I'm fulfilled. I've been Ali, and you've been you. Thank you for listening. On to another great week in the great US of A.
Warrior.